Welcome to the Offshore Club's fun-filled, fact-filled, fast-paced blockbuster podcast, Open Mike, with Mike Cobb. For more than 20 years, Mike has worked and lived in Caribbean countries from north to south and the Atlantic to the Pacific, where the sun never sets on the good life at a great price. And now, here is your offshore ambassador at large, Mike Cobb.
Hello, this is Carib Carter Clues, and welcome to Mike Cobb's Offshore Investment Report. I know that Mike has a dinner appointment right after this, so we're going to get right into the action here. Mike, welcome to your own show. How you doing?
I'm good, Carter. Always good to be with you, man. Down here in Florida right now. So,
oh, you are?
Yeah.
Florida. Well, then it's a heck of a lot warmer than it is here in York, Pennsylvania, where
Yeah.
it's 18 degrees.
Yeah. So I got stuck at Dulles this morning trying to get out for about 4 hours. So yeah, I feel your pain up there. I'm just glad to be done with it for a few days. Yeah.
I wish I were a little even further south than you. I wish I were in my place in Honduras. But
Yeah,
let's
right.
talk about, okay, I own, as you know, I own 2 homes in Honduras, and I want to buy some property in Nicaragua. I tell people every day in my Carib Carter Minutes on Mondays in the Coffee with Carib Carter, folks, offshore.club on Mondays. I got to get my own plug in here, Mike.
Absolutely.
That invest offshore now. Look, there is no greater offshore investor than you. 25 years. I have a feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, the thought occurred to me today, I have a feeling you have probably bought more Central and South American properties in the last 25 years than any other offshore entrepreneur. What do you think? You think?
Well, I'm certainly up there in the top of that crowd. I don't know if it's the most or not, but we've done a lot. Yeah, Carter. We've done a lot. We've developed a lot. We've served a lot of folks over the years. Yeah,
served a heck of a lot of folks, and built the most beautiful residential resort communities in all of the Caribbean. I mean, Grand Pacifica, folks, check it out. GrandPacifica.com that is a Mike Cobb community par excellence, Mike. I mean, I just love it.
Thank you.
I talk about it all the time on Coffee with Carib Carter. But I want to ask you a question, because I know a lot of our offshore club members now are looking very hard at investing in offshore property, either to move there or as a second home or as an investment property. You are the past master. Let's talk about, I always like to keep things positive, but sometimes you got to help people, warn people about some stuff that might not be positive.
Sure.
Let's talk about what you have found and what you'd advise our viewers of the Offshore Investment Report. What are the 3 major, I'm going to use the word scams, that people need to watch out for when they invest in offshore property? Let's address that today.
I love that, Carter. In fact, I give a talk, and it's called "It's Not All Peaches and Cream," or the roses come with thorns, right? And, and we've even written a very comprehensive consumer resource guide about these exact things. In fact, we identify 15 of the biggest mistakes that people made, and they're not all scams. I mean, there's some scams in there, right? But the 15 biggest mistakes people make. But, it really is sad, because, we coming out of the US, Canada, I mean, we come with this idea of, I hate to say it, but the nanny state, right? We are so taken care of, right? We don't even know how to look out for ourselves anymore when we go into a buyer beware environment. And so, you've definitely got a lot of scamsters and fraudsters in Latin America who are looking to take advantage of the situation, that it's a very low regulatory environment. Now, as a libertarian, and I know you share a lot of the same beliefs, I love low regulation. Low regulation is wonderful, right? But it comes with a price, and the price is personal responsibility. Right? Good. Freedom and personal responsibility.
I call it situational awareness. And by the way, before we move on, what is the name of that report, and how can people get it?
Yeah, Consumer Resource Guide. Right there. I see it. www.grandpacifica.com. If you go to info@grandpacifica.com, no D, right? GRAN Pacifica, homeownersfees.com. You stick in info at, and just put in the subject line, Consumer Resource Guide. We will send that to you.
All right.
And
free.
it's a powerful document. Because,
And
I
it's
think
free, right?
I think the three biggest scams really come down to people selling property that they're not allowed to sell. It's not theirs, right? It's not their property. And that's a big one, and that happens a lot. Another one is this idea that everything is so cheap in terms of like homeowners fees and things like that just isn't true. And so that's another one. And then I would say probably the last biggest scam is good intentions. It's hard to say it that way, but so many developers come to the region as a hobby. Like they love, they move to Belize or Honduras, Roatan. I mean, like on the Bay Island side where there's nice reefs. So they love to dive or fish or snorkel, or they come to the Pacific side of Central America where they love to surf, in Costa Rica or Panama or Nicaragua, right? And so they come down with this idea, and then they decide after 6 months of that they're bored and that they're going to want to do something new. And so they decide they're going to, develop. They're going to, develop and build homes, build condos, whatever it is. And they come in with really good intentions. I'm not saying that they're out to scam you, but in the end, they just don't have the business acumen or the experience or the ability to get the job done. And there are just so many resorts up and down the coast of Central and South America where developers have come in and started and just simply failed. And I think that's probably the biggest disaster. I hate to call it a scam because I think they come in with good intentions. Most of them do. Some don't, right? But most do. But it's just a disaster, and it's horrible to see all the consumers who have, had their hopes and dreams dashed by a developer that just couldn't get the job done.
And Mike, okay, I want to talk about this and go back and revisit the first two in the time we have.
Sure.
But this one you're talking about, you and I have a mutual friend who definitely did not intend to scam. I want to make that clear. I'm not going to say his name, but he definitely did not intend to scam.
Yeah.
And he had the most beautiful drawings for his resort community, the most wonderful plans, and it was like paradise. Okay, the location, it was Belize, everything about it. And I don't think, and you would know better than me, I don't think there was ever one brick laid on top of another one.
No, there wasn't. I know who you're talking about. No, and yeah, Carter. I mean, you're laughing. I'm laughing. It's horrible. I mean, it's horrible. And it is terrible. Yeah. And literally, that might be a big percentage. I don't think it's most. I don't think it's more than half. But it's a big percentage of the projects, and it's just really, really sad because people, they lose their money, they lose, their desire to do something that could really be a tremendous quality of life and a way of life if they'd have just done more due diligence up front, paid a little bit more attention. I like your word, situational awareness, all the things that would have made it just go so well for them. And something like the Consumer Resource Guide is a great way to get started. But you wanted to circle back on the other two, and I think they both merit some attention as well.
Yeah, starting with that first one. And this is, you go to some of these countries and, let's say you go to Honduras and you find a gorgeous property and you meet Rosalita, who wants to sell you the property, and you invest your time and your money. And then it turns out, and this is not unusual, that Rosalita, yes, she does own it, but so does her cousin Juan and her stepbrother Raul, and her other sister Rosa, and blah, blah, on and on. Yeah. And people have no idea. And I don't think it's nefarious by Rosalita. It's just she thinks she's selling the property, and the rest of the family says, well, what about, hey, K-Pat or me? What about me?
Right, Carter.
So the title search, right?
Absolutely. I mean, look, there are many different types of title in Central America. In fact, we have some of them in the U.S. too. Rights of possession title. And it's not, I'm sorry, I said it, rights of possession title. It's really not title, but it's said that way, rights of possession title, but it's not. It's rights of possession occupancy. I don't know what the right word is. Anyway, and so that's one, or concession land where somebody's been given a concession to property on a lease. Maybe it's a long lease, 99 years in some cases, but it's not really theirs to sell, so to speak, right? And then you've got cooperativa or a junta or indigenous property, the types of properties that are throughout the region where they're not permitted to sell them because they belong to an indigenous tribe or ejido in Mexico, or cooperativa land where it was given to a group of people. And so you've got all these different kinds of ownership methodologies, let's just call them that. And then you've got fee simple title in the common law sense, and you've got escritura publica in the civil law, right? The public title. And so those are the two title types we want to look for. It's fairly easy to hire your own lawyer to do a title search, and in the States, of course, we would do that. We hire, we have a realtor and we have a trust company, or maybe there's a title insurance company. I mean, there's lots of things going on, right? Nobody would just buy a piece of property without having a thorough title search done in the United States or Canada, but overseas somehow we meet Rosalita, and she's so nice, and you're right, she's probably not out to scam us, but we just kind of fall into this is how we do it here. It's a handshake, and I don't know, it's heartwarming actually to think about going back to the days of a handshake, right? But anyway, it's just hire a lawyer and do your due diligence, and again, look for escritura publica, public title, or fee simple title in the common law. Yeah.
And I will say this about every lawyer, and obviously I haven't met every lawyer in a sense, but everyone I've worked with, and I've bought 3 different properties in Honduras now, I found to be pretty reliable. We all remember the Sinatra movie, Divorce American Style, was the crooked lawyer, Cesar Romero. They're not, but everyone I've seen has been pretty straightforward, straight down the line. And they tell you, look, this property is not. Now, when you bought I know we have to move quickly because
we do.
You have your steak waiting there, but when you bought 2.5 miles of oceanfront property in Nicaragua, and you had your lawyers check it out, right? Totally. And was it from one family, or did you have
Carter,
families?
Carter, you're shortchanging me. It's 3.5 miles of beach. But anyway,
Thank you.
but anyway, yes. So we actually had 3 lawyers, 4 if you count my business partner who's a lawyer, but he's a U.S. lawyer. Yeah. So, but we hired a lawyer in Nicaragua to check it out. Then we actually got a title insurance policy through First American Title, and they had a lawyer check it out. And then we actually got a 3rd lawyer to check everything out at the end, and independent. So they checked out the contract in total, but they also checked out the title again. So it actually went through 3 lawyers. And it, it was a big piece of property, so it made sense. If you're buying a small home site or a condo or something, one lawyer is enough, but it needs to be your lawyer. It can't be the developer's lawyer, right? So, one lawyer is enough. If you're buying a larger piece, maybe have 2 check it out, right? But yeah, it's pretty easy to do. We just have to remember to do it.
You've got to do it. So we've talked about the people who have the property, and they have great intentions to build and it never happens. We've talked about the people who, it turns out a lot more folks, particularly indigenous population, own the property than you thought. How about the 3rd that you would advise folks to watch out for when they make their purchase?
Yeah, this idea of homeowners fees. In the United States, homeowners associations, condo associations, they're actually pretty well regulated by different regulatory bodies. Again, it's the nanny state, right? We can complain about so much regulation, but overseas, nobody's regulating it. And so they can kind of do what they want or be what they want, or not do what they say they're going to do. And nobody's there to really challenge that, right? Right. And one of the places where I've seen so many developers, and I do think this is scammy, by the way, personally, is they in fact, in the consumer resource guide, one of the questions is are the condo fees or homeowner fees high enough, right? And I use that one in
good.
conferences. I use that one in conferences because usually, like, I'd say, come on, who's going to boo me for talking about high fees? Nobody wants to pay high fees, right? But
Right.
you know, I put up this example of a guy who was selling condominiums, and he said, you know, there's, you know, 2-bedroom, 2-story, private pools, elevator, this, that, and the other thing. And in the advertisement, it said, and the condo fees are only $350 a year. And then he goes on to say, I repeat, a year. Well, now $350 a year. I don't care. You know, I mean, like, you just can't take care of elevators and pools and lighting and security and you know, and I mean, you know, all this stuff. You can't take care of that on $350 a year. And he was using this really low fee as the basis to sell the condo, right? This is why you buy the condo. The fees are so low. But the reality is, when he sells the 20 condos or whatever's in that building, like, he's going away. He's putting all that money in his pocket. He's flying back to Canada or wherever. I think he's from Canada. He's going to fly back to Canada with a couple $1,000,000 in his pocket. And then when all of a sudden the real cost of that building, taking care of that building, comes up, oh, it's more like $350 a month.
Yeah.
Which, but compared to the U.S., that's half of what a similar product in the U.S. would cost. So it's still a bargain, right? Anyway, this one really we need to be careful of, because these low fees are used as a sales tactic, and I think a very dishonest or disingenuous one. So when we buy a property, we should absolutely be looking at the HOA fees, the condo fees, and we should be doing a little metric and, you know, take out your pencil and scribble out some numbers and go, yeah, can they really take care of all of this for X amount of dollars per month or whatever it is? And, you know, just use your common sense. You look around, you see 8 security guards and lush tropical this and that has to get watered and lighting everywhere and tennis courts and swimming pools, and it's $350 a year. I mean, like, if you believe that, man, you know, we got a Brooklyn Bridge to sell you, I think. I mean, like,
I got some swampland in New Jersey for you.
There you go.
Exactly. All right.
Maybe Jimmy Hoffa's buried there. I don't know.
Yeah, right next to his grave site. All right, so that's the top 3. And again, folks, this is vital. This is vital. There are great properties right now. This is the time to invest in property in Central and South America.
Yeah.
Mike's shaking his head. No one knows better than him. But these are things you have to be careful for, along with the other 12 in the guide, which they can get at grandpacifica.com. That perfect. And what's the guide called? The free guide.
Oh, just the Consumer Resource Guide.
Consumer Resource Guide.
Yep.
All right, so folks, get it, and you'll get the information from the expert, who now is going to leave us to go enjoy his dinner.
There you go. Right.
I hope at a first rate. You're not going to Burger King or anything.
Well, there is a Burger King across the street, but I hope that's not where they're taking me. So,
All right. Mike, thank you very, very much. This has been great. Very informative.
You're welcome. Always a pleasure, Carter.
All right, we'll see you again next week. Thank you, sir. All right.